Okay, so we have a Jesse French and Sons player piano. It's about 100 years old, and I'm just going to real quickly do a tutorial on how to operate it. I've taken off the front cover. I will put that back and show you how that goes back, and lifted the top up just so it's out of the way. Here is really where all of the player roll action is going to happen, and you can see how the bellows and the components work to make it play by having it open. There are this face folds down. There are a few actuators here that do different kinds of things. Probably the most important one from an operability standpoint is the re-roll lever, which at the end of the roll you don't want to run it all the way through to the very end because it could rip. Before you get to the very end, you will hit that lever and it will cause this tumbler to go all the way backwards and re-roll the roll. So actually it'll cause the roll to go all the way backwards, not the puller. This piano has two different operating modes. One is the old-fashioned, where it has these two pedals. I don't know if you can see them, but you slide the door aside and you can pump and get the bellows going, and you can see how the bellows work. And this particular one has been retrofitted at some point, or maybe they had them at the point when it was manufactured with an electric pump. There's a switch right here and it's plugged in, and it is a lot less exercise to operate it that way. Mm-hmm. So every single roll has two ends, and most of them, maybe a few are missing this piece, and you can recreate it. This little catch. It's like a ring or possibly a piece of paper that's reinforced. One of the ends is just a circle, and the other end has a slot. And the slot has a corresponding tab on this little post here, and that's what you need to do. This post is spring loaded, so you can take the rounded side and push it against that, come back to the tab side, and you have to line it up. And some of them are pretty tight, some of them really take up the full width. The wider pieces of paper have extra holes that do functionality, like basically they're pushing the loud or soft pedals. So this particular roll is one that I like. It's hand played. Some of the rolls are done by just mechanically punching where the keys are being played, and they sound much more mechanical. And some were actually punched based on somebody playing. The original, the master, was done based on somebody actually playing, so you get better phrasing and that kind of thing. So once you have it going, you can pull this down. Usually somewhere around there, I don't see it, is a tempo, and there's a tempo lever. This is probably the second most important lever, and you can set it from basically from hold, where it slows everything down to almost a stop, all the way through 130. So that's like basically beats per minute, I would say. And most of them are somewhere between 60 and 80. So once we know what the tempo is, or sometimes it'll come down as it's reading, as it's pulling. We'll set it. So I'm going to let this catch on the little tab, and it's going to start pulling across. And now, every time a hole appears is where it's going to play a note. So I'm looking for the tempo. It's 70, so I'm going to set that to 70. This little lever here. This is how it works. This little lever here will actually change where it's tracking. So you can change the entire key of everything up or down a couple steps actually, or line it up if for some reason it's not tracking well on the particular notes, then you can adjust that back and forth. It's not tracking exactly right. Okay, so pretending we've gotten to the end of the song, it'll play some goofball kinds of chords to let you know you're at the end. So we're gonna take this return lever, and the re-roll happens real fast. If you've ever seen cartoons, when a guy's tie goes up, this is what it's taken after. All right, so I've got that going too fast. That's going that way. We're going to turn that off, and I'll show you a couple other parts and pieces of this thing. So be careful with those skulls. There are loudness and treble levers over here that you can use and actuate. I don't know why you would use it, but under here there's a hook, which basically it means it kind of like keeps these from being played unless somebody really bangs on them. So we push that forward, and you can play it, pull it forward, and you can't really depress the keys that way.
Ghost piano.
Yeah, ghost piano. It will, if you pull that forward, it'll still play the player part of it. So I think it prevented people from accidentally hitting it. I'm not really sure. The other part is, this is kind of an added on feature, I think, is if you have these,
fancy.
This thing turns it into more of a harpsichord sound. So, so it gives it that kind of a more harpsichord sound by pulling this whatever it is out. So push that forward, it lifts up on that bar, leaves it out of the way, and I think that's pretty much all of the features of it that I can think of you might want to know. Everything on it is working as far as I know, but it's 100 years old, so who knows? And what's that?
Space on the desk.
This?
Yeah.
Alright, well, I mean, it's just a regular piano bench. We know what that is.
But you can store stuff in it, like the scrolls.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm gonna put.
Not that many though.
Yeah. Usually it's for piano music. I'm gonna put the face back on. And a couple clips. We're gonna put that on. There are two posts in case you want to have it open where it's louder. Goes down. I've done a little bit of tuning of it myself. I'm not a professional. I don't have all the tools, so it's not perfect. I think everything is just a little bit flat all the way through, and could be tuned into actual pure key. So